because it's not a common service, a lot of times there's not clear answers. So we're really doing our best to do homework, do the research, and then really give clients access to the full range of services that are out there.
Right.
Because if that's going to work best for their lifestyle, we want to make that available.
Hi, I'm Kym Tolson and I'm the traveling therapist. It's my passion to teach therapists how to navigate online private practices and multiple income streams so they can travel the world. I'm a digital nomad with a virtual insurance-based private therapy practice and a multi-six-figure coaching business. I'm obsessed with entrepreneurship and developing tools that can help therapists live an adventurous lifestyle. In this podcast, I will discuss my journey as a digital nomad. I'll chat with other traveling therapists and help you navigate the complexities of running an online insurance-based practice. I'm so glad to have you with me on this journey. Going in-network with insurance can be tough. For example, waiting a year to get credentialed in some cases. Filing all the right paperwork is time-consuming and tedious, and even after you're done, it could take months to get credentialed and start seeing clients. That's why Alma makes it easy and financially rewarding to accept insurance. When you join the insurance program, you can get credentialed within 45 days and access to enhanced reimbursement rates. They also handle all the paperwork from eligibility checks to claim submissions, and they guarantee payment within 2 weeks of each appointment. Once you've joined Alma's insurance program, you can see clients in your state of licensure regardless of where you're working from. This is particularly exciting for me as a traveling therapist, as I know it is probably for you too. You can literally be anywhere and still see your clients through Alma. Learn more about building a thriving private practice with Alma at helloalma.com/Kym. That's helloalma.com/KYM to get started.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Traveling Therapist Podcast. I'm really excited today to have Steffeny Feld here with us. So Steffeny is not your typical traveling therapist, but she does something that's super cool. And I think it's going to enhance all of you that are traveling therapists, kind of get new ideas around things you can do in your private practice to help sort of extend your traveling lifestyle, not have to work as much when you're on the road if you don't want to. So Steffeny, I'd love to just have you introduce yourself and tell everybody about what you're going to talk about today, and then we'll just go from there.
Yeah. Oh, I'm so excited. I'm Steffeny Feld. I'm an EMDR therapist in St. Louis, Missouri. And the thing that I love to talk about is therapy intensives.
Oh my
So
gosh.
inside the intensive design lab, I support therapists to launch and grow therapy intensives in their practice. And it's been a ton of fun.
Oh my gosh, I love that idea so much. I'm an EMDR therapist too. And over the years, I'm like, yeah, I wish I could do weekend long intensives, but I'm also an insurance-based provider. So I just always kind of thought of it and then just didn't think about it anymore because, it really is a tool that if you could spend 3 or 4 hours with somebody and help them with processing, it helps just get through that trauma so much more than like the traditional way, right? We have to do a 90837. We get 60 minutes. We've got to learn how to work this thing that's supposed to be at least 90 minutes into this little teeny 53-minute session. So I'm so excited to hear about this. I'd love if we could just talk about what an intensive is in case people are listening. They're like, I have no idea what you guys are even talking about.
Right.
Let's jump into that and just explain a little bit about what is an intensive?
Yeah, exactly. I had the same experience. The first time I heard about it years ago, I was like, wait, what? Is that a thing? Is that real? Is that legal? Really, it's exactly what you were just saying. It's longer sessions, so they're more intense. And there's a ton of different ways that therapists structure them. So my personal favorite is doing a 3-hour session 3 days in a row. So usually I'll do 3-day weekend kind of thing. Some people will do 6 hours, 8 hours, or they'll do 5 days in a row, a whole week long thing.
Wow.
Yeah. So the exciting thing is there's lots of opportunity to be creative and to customize according to what works well for you in your life and your specific clients because a lot of trauma therapists use intensives, but really that's not the only way to use it. It's so helpful for couples work, especially if there's
Mhm.
like a hot button issue or conflict coming up, grief, even OCD, fears and phobias. There's a ton of different like presenting concerns that really, really well with intensives.
Wow, that's so cool. I mean, I didn't even think about all the other ways to use it because I'm so in the EMDR.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, okay, so you said some people do it this way, some people do it this way. What are the things to consider? Like, how would a clinician even go about that process, deciding like what type of intensive is best for me?
Yes.
Mm.
So a lot of times I just recommend people start with that like standard 3 hours and see what it feels like. The easiest way to start is with a current client who you already know, you're already familiar with, they feel comfortable with you. And a lot of times clients already know, like we get to that like 45-minute or 50-minute mark and we just got into something so good and we
Oh,
just have to leave and go back to life. And they're like,
yeah.
if I could just stay a little bit longer and stay on this trajectory rather than having to close it up and then open it up. And it just feels like sometimes it feels like it takes forever and it's just dragging on and on. And so, yeah, starting with current clients that already are right in the midst of it. And then
Hmm.
seeing how that feels to you. Just 3 hours, did that feel great? Did it feel like you wish you had more time? I'm really a fan of kind of experimenting and seeing what works. I tried a ton of different models when I got started
Hmm.
and really found that this worked well for me and my clients. So I know that's kind of stressful to therapists. They want like a specific
Yeah.
model. It goes a certain way, but it can be kind of fun to be creative and play and find what works well for you.
Yeah, I really love that. Like, I'm the type of person, remember in college, you could take the 1 hour class 3 times a week or 5 days a week or the hour and a half, like 3 days, or just take that 3 hour and just knock it out every week. Like, I'm that type of person.
Yes.
Like this idea of being able to do that. And I like what you're saying too. I mean, some therapists might hate that, but
Right.
me, especially in EMDR, I cannot tell you, and I know you know how many times it's been like, okay, I literally have another client in the lobby. This is like the major turning point right here, and I
Yes.
have to stop. It's
Oh,
just
it's heartbreaking.
oh my gosh, yeah, so many times, and even trying to figure out, okay, how am I going to navigate this around insurance? All right, I'm just going to have you come in Monday, Wednesday, Friday this week, and we're going to bill 3 908 3 7s, and
Right, right.
try to do it that way. So I love that. So I guess I'm curious also, do you just do intensives or do you have clients you see like every single week and then it's like, what would be awesome is if we did a weekend intensive, like
Right.
hours feels right. Because I guess I've talked to other people that do intensives and that's like all they do. So I feel like there's
Mhm.
different ways to do that. So I'm curious, like, how do you help a clinician decide that part of it?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Well, for me personally, I started adding them on to what I already had going on.
Hmm.
Like I would see
Okay.
clients 3 or 4 days a week and then every one, like once a month, do an intensive. And then the more and more I did it, just like you were saying, it was so amazing. I mean, just it's so fulfilling to see someone make so much progress in such a short period of time. We've like coined the phrase like intensive math. Like
Oh
therapists
yeah.
try to estimate like what we did in this day. How many sessions do you think that would have taken if we only met for 1 hour? And people are like 6 weeks, like months. Like it's hard to tell because it's just so much like it's exponentially more effective. So I feel like for a lot of people, once they experience that, it's very hard to go back to the weekly model. And
Hmm.
so for me personally, I just continued to build up doing more and more intensives. And now this year I'm transitioning to intensives only.
Oh, you are. Nice.
Mm-hmm. And so I think that's really common with a lot of people that, you know, of course, there's like some stability with keeping weekly clients, especially if you're insurance based. And actually, a lot of people use intensives as a way to have some cash pay clients, have some insurance clients, or make the transition to cash pay. So yeah, I think the hybrid model is the most common,
Yeah.
but a lot of people, it's seriously so, so amazing.
It really is. It's especially for this lifestyle, the traveling therapist lifestyle, you know. I, of course, am a workaholic, so I work everywhere I go. I'm always working, it seems like. I'm really trying to cut back on that in 2024, but so for me, it's not really that big of a deal. But I think a lot of people really would like to be like maybe, okay, I'm gonna pop back into where my office is or where I rent an office. I'm just gonna do a week's worth of just really intense work with my clients, and then I'm going to pop back out for like 4 or 5 weeks and just go travel or do whatever I want to do. And
Right.
it feels totally doable with this model.
It so does. And the other thing that I haven't mentioned yet is, it really is charged at a different rate. So it is all private pay. It is a more like premium private pay rate. And so you're getting more income coming in. And it feels like, well, one, it just feels so good that you don't feel like you're really working. And it's not as much work as who was I just talking to recently? They were saying when you work with clients back to back to back, you're
Mhm.
regulating with like 5 to 7 different nervous systems in one day. And
Yeah.
that just takes a lot. But if
Mhm.
you're working with one specific person for that day or for that week, it's just a
Wow.
very different experience on the clinician side. So yeah, because of the premium rate and how like fulfilling it is, you
Mhm.
really can do, one intensive a month or two intensives a month and maybe even make the same amount that you would seeing
Yeah.
clients back to back like every week that month. So I think that's so ideal when you're traveling because you
Mhm.
don't I'm like, okay, if I was a traveling therapist, I'd probably go to like Australia or New Zealand, I don't want to be sitting in the office,
Yeah.
logging on to appointment after appointment. If I knew, okay, these 3 days, I'm going to do an intensive, I'm going to go really deep. We're going to have this like contained experience. And then
Yeah.
after that, I'll be with my family on the beach for the
Mhm.
next 2 weeks. That just sounds so
Exactly.
incredible.
Exactly. And
That's the dream.
I guess that leads to, I mean, you could totally do intensive telehealth, right? I mean, you could
Yes.
totally
Yeah.
conduct it over telehealth, right? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of people prefer that. They like to be in their own home with their like comfort objects and cozy. And so we talk about that too in the intensive design lab, like how to make it still a really like custom high touch experience, even if people are logging on from their own house. Or
Yeah.
some clients will, especially if they're parents or they have a lot going on in their house, they'll rent a hotel or like get a hotel or rent an Airbnb and have
Ooh.
like it be like a
Oh.
retreat for them, like get
Mm.
a pedicure or a massage like before or after the
Oh,
intensive.
I love that.
Yes, I do too. I've had a lot of moms with young kids do intensives and they do that. And they're like, just the fact that I got to sleep uninterrupted for 3 days, that itself is very restorative.
That was therapeutic. Yeah.
Yes, yes,
And
exactly.
the intensive on top of it. Yeah.
Exactly,
That's
exactly.
such a good idea. Yeah. So I know you teach all of this and you teach therapists how to do it. Just how does one even go about thinking about how to start pricing something like this? Because I know a lot of therapists, right? We have like money mindset
Oh,
issues.
yes.
I mean, that could be a whole, I'm sure, thing that you address inside of your lab and all that stuff. But
Yes.
is there any like tips or pointers you could give around what that looks like or what the process is to try to figure that out?
Absolutely. Yeah. A lot of people, when they're first starting out, it's new. So some people will just keep their same, standard rate and do like a 3 hour intensive with their current client at the current rate, just to get like their feet wet and see how it feels. Or say, I'm having this offer, it's priced 20 to 25% higher than your typical rate. And
Hmm.
then you tell your current clients, hey, if you want to book if you want to, I'm like letting you know first, if you want to set one up within the first 3 months, I'll grandfather you in at your current rate.
Ah,
So that kind of like encourages people to give it a try. And everybody loves to save, to take
yeah.
advantage of the deal. And then when you start getting, people reaching out who are not your clients, you can start them at the higher rate. So usually the model I've used is 20 to 25% higher than my
Okay.
standard rate. And then I do also have a weekend Right. I don't typically see people on evenings just because I do have a young kid. But when I
Mhm.
do weekends, because a lot of people don't, it's nice not to have to take time off work, then I'll have a weekend rate. And that's essentially like time and a half, like overtime. So that also will increase the earning potential for sure.
Wow, so smart. Hmm.
Right. Just, you
So,
protect your time and your energy, and you are tuning in
mhm.
and having it's just so deep. So, you want to build in space for your own like preparation and recovery afterward.
Managing a successful private practice can be challenging, even if you have all the skills and experience you need to support clients. Most training programs offer little to no guidance on running your own business. That's why Alma gives clinicians the tools they need to build a thriving private practice. When you join Alma, you can get credentialed with major insurance payers within 45 days, as well as guaranteed payment within 2 weeks of each session. You can also attract clients who are the right fit for your practice with a free profile in Alma's searchable directory. As you build your caseload, Alma also offers time-saving tools and administrative support, so you can spend less time on paperwork and more time delivering great care to your clients. Visit helloalma.com/Kym to download your free guide to identifying and connecting with clients who are the right fit for your practice. That's helloalma.com/KYM to get your guide.
Oh, that's really smart. Yeah, making sure that you're making the time to just decompress after 3 or 6 hours of intense
Yes,
therapy. Yeah.
exactly.
So, guessing you're just a private pay clinician, you probably don't take insurance. Do you have recommendations for that? If it's an insurance-based provider, how to navigate that? I'm just curious about that because I do have, I teach therapists how to bill insurance in their private practices and I have a membership for that. But questions like this come up all the time. Like, can I
Yes.
bill for it? How do I not bill for it and be okay with the insurance companies? Like all of that stuff. I just wonder if you have any advice around that.
Yes, yes, definitely. And, it is a newer service. So we're still kind of developing how to handle it and across
Yeah.
different insurance companies because, like, every contract is different, every insurance company is different. But what I've done is I have a freebie and it's the insurance opt-out form and cash pay agreement. And
Nice.
so I make that available to people who do have an insurance-based practice so that they can explain to their clients, this is a service that's not covered by insurance.
Mhm.
And if you would want to like have this experience, then it would be a cash pay agreement just for that intensive session. But they
Yeah.
can continue to use their insurance benefits if you meet with them, beforehand for an intake, or if you continue to meet after for ongoing therapy.
Okay. Yeah. So as an insurance-based provider, my brain's reeling right now
Yes.
because really, at least what I teach my Bill Like a Boss people is you'd have to opt out. They'd have to opt out, but then they'd have to opt back in almost to their insurance if they
Mm-hmm.
wanted to do that hybrid kind of thing like that. Yeah, that's interesting. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. It's funny because different insurance companies have said different things. Some people have said, well, you
Oh,
can bill the first hour of the intensive and they can pay cash pay for the rest. And other
yeah.
insurance companies have said, absolutely not. It has to be the full intensive needs to be completely cash pay. So I
Wow.
always encourage people, to, it does take a little bit of homework up front because
Yeah.
of course you want to stay in compliance with the insurance company and your contract and all of that. And some of them will have a specific form they want you to use. That would be,
Mhm.
the easiest way.
Yeah.
But because it's not a common service, a lot of times there's not clear answers. So we're really doing our best to do homework, do the research, and then really give clients access to the full range of services that are out there.
Right.
Because if that's going to work best for their lifestyle, we want to make that available.
Yeah, and there used to even be like these prolonged codes you could
Yes.
add on that I know some people did for intensives, but they deleted them. So you can't even use those
Mhm.
anymore. So yeah, that causes a huge problem. But I like what you're saying. It really is important to anybody listening. If you're going to do something like this, of course, check in with Steffeny about it, but also always call your provider services rep and say, this is the situation. How do I handle it for this specific insurance? Yeah.
Mhm, mhm. And even if you are private pay, some clients do want to use the super bill. And
Yes.
even asking, okay, for their specific plan, what codes will be reimbursed, how many per day or how many per week, because unfortunately, it's different for every person. And a lot of my people are like, oh, no, no, it's fine. Like, I'm happy. Like, this is really important service
Yeah.
to me. I'm happy to just pay out of pocket. But other people, having that reimbursement can really be helpful. And so just making sure that everybody, we and the client, are aware of exactly what the plan will cover and how much. And the other thing is, because it is a higher, price service, higher investment across the board,
Yeah.
financially, mentally, emotionally, in your heart, we've also started offering payment plans. So some
Mm.
people will say, oh, I really want to do, I don't know, teachers or professors, they have summer break. So I've had teachers say, I don't have time for therapy during the year when I'm teaching, but I would love to do an intensive over the summer. And so if we schedule it in advance, they can kind of be like making payments ahead of time. And that really breaks down the cost and the overall like financial burden too. So there's a lot of ways to be
So
creative.
smart. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
smart to do it that way. Yeah.
Yeah.
And planning for it with your client, like, hey, you might want to come see me once a month for a while, just like for support and, for during the school year. And then let's really get into it when you've got like 3 months off and you can process and heal and
Exactly.
recover and implement and all of that.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah. So cool. My mind's reeling with all the different things you could probably do with this. It's
Oh
so
my
great.
gosh. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, because I had a therapist on here one time, and she was a traveling therapist and a military spouse, and she was like, you know what I do in the summer? Like, I take all my clients and I just put them in group therapy together.
I
She's like,
love that.
I do a 90-minute group therapy once a week with all my clients, and that's how I manage it. And she's like, because I
Wow.
want off, my kids out of school, we want to travel. I was like, that is genius, So I
Yeah.
love talking about these creative ways to make space for ourselves, but also help our clients with, there's so much you can do with an intensive, like you said, where you don't have to just like, contain it, roll it up, and then just put it away for a week and then come back and bring it back out. And it's just, I think it's an amazing model. Yeah, I really
Yeah.
do. Mm-hmm.
It really is. I feel like clients get so much out of it. And then, like, clinicians do too. That's what I said. Like, I wanted to do it in the beginning because I was like, wow, this is so powerful. I'd love to like offer this. And I didn't realize that it totally changed my life and my practice too. So I'm just like, everyone, we all make our decisions about how we want to structure our practice and what's going to work best for us. But this is just something that's not widely known about. Like you said, the idea with making the group in the summer. Genius, right?
Yes,
Just
right.
another option. And I think it works so well for folks who are traveling, who, want to have that opportunity to have more freedom while you're in like a beautiful and exciting location.
Absolutely. I love that. Hey, I'm going to do a 3 hour on Saturday and then I'm available for the whole week because I charge
Yes,
more. Right. The client's great. We're good to go. Yeah.
exactly. Exactly.
So is there anything to think about? Like, I would imagine in an intensive, there's probably plenty of time for like building a container and then at the end, really closing them back up very well. I just wonder, are there any precautions around like, hey, I'm going to do this intensive and then let's say go on, be on vacation for a week or whatever. Like, is there protocols that you recommend to like help with containment after such an intense session? If somebody's just doing intensives, I wonder like what's the after part like, the follow-up here?
Right, right. So a lot of the people I do intensives with either are my current clients, so I'm already gonna, see them. Maybe we
Right.
take 2 weeks for them to kind of like let it soak in, and
Okay.
then we check in after. Because usually there is even a recovery period for clients as well, like that takes a lot of energy. Usually you're tired and your brain is still processing even after the experience. So usually it is 2 or 3 weeks until I check in with someone and do like a debrief session, kind of
Yeah.
see, where they're at after that experience. But a lot of other people I see for intensives, it's adjunctive work. So they have a primary therapist that they're going to be checking
Oh,
in with. Yes, following up with, and
so
I'm just
smart.
doing this very specific piece of the work with them. So that also takes some of that pressure off. If you're like, I just want to be on the beach, I don't want to be thinking about like worried or or even just, in general, if it is work where they have another therapist, and also that's just fun to work with other therapists and
Yeah, it
great
is. Of
together,
course.
you know?
Yes, love that. I hadn't even thought of that they just come to you for the intensive and then go back to their primary that doesn't do intensive. Yeah,
Yes, yes. And it
yes.
can be, in that sense, it's really specific. So people show up and we know already ahead of time, we know exactly what we're focusing on. We're
Mhm.
focusing on this specific trauma or this trigger that's happening in your relationship or whatever it is. And so we're ready to go, Sometimes in therapy,
Yeah.
there's like an exploration process. You're trying to pinpoint where you're going to focus, and that takes some time. But that's
Mhm.
also why intensives can be so like energizing, is that it's very goal oriented, which I think for me, I love that. I think that's really helpful.
Yeah.
We
I
know
love
what we're
that
focusing
too.
on and like
Yeah.
what the final outcome is.
I love that. You got my mind reeling. I'm like, oh, I probably could do intensives like every couple of months or something for a week.
Yes.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I hadn't really thought about that coordinating with other therapists. That's such a great idea.
Nowadays, that's where the majority of my referrals come from for intensives. Yep, or other therapists in the community, either they work with a different modality, or maybe they are EMDR therapists, but they can just see that their client needs that longer
hmm
format to really
hmm
have a breakthrough. And so that's been really fun too.
Yeah, and I would imagine like with your pricing too, like working in like, okay, I'm gonna have to coordinate with this other therapist. I'm gonna have to get a history or an intake somehow, like before we actually come in and do the serious work. So making sure that
Mhm.
you're probably building that into the pricing too. Yeah, that makes sense. Wow.
Yeah, yeah. We do have an intake session, and then all of my clients fill out a workbook, and it walks them through the whole preparation process, all the commonly asked questions, what to expect, like really, really preparing. And then a lot of my intake is in there so that all that kind of getting to know you stuff that you would do in those like first, 2 to 4 sessions. It's
hmm
like we get right to it because that workbook just captures it all. And then when we do get face to face for that meeting, it's like we've already spent so much time
Yeah.
together. So that's
Oh,
really fun too.
awesome. Oh my gosh, that's awesome. Yeah, this is great. Yeah, I just love trying to offer these outside of the box type ways to run your private practice. Yeah. The
Yes,
whole thing is
yes.
like this is your practice. You can do it however you want to. Yeah.
Exactly. And like it really like I truly think it's less stressful. I mean, it gives you more time, more
Mhm.
space, more fulfillment. I'm just like I would love everyone to just try it and see what it's like, because for me it has been a complete game changer.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, I can see how it would just really transform everything. And I love the idea of not having to be the follow-up therapist.
Yes. Yes.
That is really exciting to me. It's like because I love EMDR. I love doing the EMDR. I don't really love all the other stuff that comes with it. So that's very cool to think,
hmm
yeah, let's just get in here and do this and knock it out. And then you just go on back to your therapist and we'll be done.
Exactly.
I
And
don't even have to
usually,
follow up.
yeah, yeah. And most of the time they're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I was able to process this. Like, it sounds so cheesy, but the amount of times people say to me,
Yeah,
I'm a different person than I was when I walked in, or like, my life has changed.
yeah.
It's like those, one, that's just really amazing for them, but it also feels so good to hear that, like that's why we got into this work in the first place, is
Mhm.
to like be a part of that deep transformation. And
Yeah.
so like this method of intensives is so ripe for those like experiences.
Oh, I love it so much.
I know, me too.
Oh, I love it so much. Thank you for sharing. I would love if you could just tell everybody how to work with you if they want the guidance and direction. It sounds like you've already worked out the model and you can walk people right through how to set it up. So, how do people work with you? How do they contact
Yeah.
you?
Yeah. Well, like I said, I support therapists inside the Intensive Design Lab. We have a free Facebook group that's the Therapy Intensive Community, supporting therapists to launch intensives in private practice. And this is like perfect timing because I'm about to announce, you're the first to hear it, a special free challenge.
Okay.
It's going to be 4 days to launch therapy intensives in 2024.
Wow.
So I'm breaking all the pieces down into simple steps across 4 days. And you could
Ooh,
literally have just heard this and not even have known what an intensive was.
yeah.
And like join for those 4 days and get everything in order. And you'd be ready to start an intensive with
Amazing.
the current client right away. So I would
Wow.
love, if anyone is curious or interested, love for you to join the 4 day challenge. It starts Monday, January 8th.
Amazing. Yeah, we'll drop the link. Today is what, December 15th? So January 8th, 2024 is when she'll be doing this. I love it. We'll drop the link for you guys in the show notes and all the other ways you can work with Steffeny too to get
Yeah.
intensive off the ground. Yeah.
Yay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. This is so much fun. I cannot wait to hear what traveling therapists do with intensives to just enjoy their travels even more.
Yes, me too. You guys reach out and tell us. And of course, we'll share this all over social media and everything. So let us know. It's really inspiring to just, I think outside of the box all the time with using with AI and with traveling and all of that, and really the message of this podcast is you can make your practice be whatever you want and live the life of your dreams. So this is
Oh,
such a cool way to incorporate that into that traveling therapist lifestyle, really. Yeah.
yeah.
Thank you.
Love it. Thanks, Kym.
Welcome.
Thank you so much for listening to the Traveling Therapist podcast. For show notes, links, and downloads, head over to thetravelingtherapist.com, where you'll be able to learn more about my journey, the courses I've created for you, and other exciting resources to make your dreams become a reality. If you've enjoyed this episode, please share with your traveling therapist friends, subscribe to the podcast, and if you love this episode, please leave a review.